Okay, it is currently 2:02 Eastern, so I'm going to get started here. Well, first off, I want to thank everybody for joining. Today's webinar is mostly going to be about new features that we've recently released in ProjectTeam. The participants or the attendees today on the webinar are probably about 50-50 between current users and potential new users, leads, things like that. So I want to be clear on what today is about. Today is going to be showing some of the new things that we've added. It's not a full overview of everything in the system. And again, I think we're going to keep this to about 30 minutes. It's just kind of a quick pop in and out showing the system. I want to spend a lot of time actually demoing what we've provided. I don't really like just showing PowerPoints all the time. I will start off with just, I think, 2 or 3 slides here just to give an overview, but that will be kind of the agenda today. For those who don't know me, my name is Josh Whitmer, and I am the product manager here. So I work very closely with our sales, our services, and our development team. So I've probably interacted with most everybody on the call at one point or in time. For today's kind of overview, we're going to talk a little bit about what ProjectTeam is. This is mostly for those that are not current users, but I promise to only spend about 5 minutes on that, kind of keep it basic and high level. We will spend most of the time actually in the system. So in ProjectTeam.com, again, showing live data, going through different areas. And then as you are seeing what I'm presenting here, if you could make a quick list of questions, I'll make sure to at least spend 5 minutes, depending on the number of questions and type of questions that I get. Now, spend some time answering those questions and following up on those questions. So I try to, if you do give me a question, I'll make sure that I email you after, make sure that I answered what you're actually asking, and then go into more detail after this webinar if needed. Okay. Just real quick, the webinar is being recorded. So if you need a link to it after the call, just let me know. I'll send you over that link. I will also post it on different areas of social media and stuff like that, so other people from your company can watch it if you'd like. So just let me know if you want more information on the webinar or the recording after the presentation. So this is my only slide as an overview of what ProjectTeam is. I put a couple of kind of check boxes around here. The first is we're primarily construction management, so managing different construction processes. You will see in the system is very flexible, and most of our users really enjoy the amount of flexibility that we give you. There's a lot that you can do custom field-wise, adding custom forms, really managing most of the processes that maybe you're restricted in other systems. You can manage that information in ProjectTeam. And what's really nice is all of that information from anything that you customize is also going to be able to pull into things like merge templates and reports. So you can always run that information and get the outputs that you need. And I will actually talk a little bit about outputs in the form of merge templates today on this presentation, because that's one of the things that we kind of improved upon based on user feedback. It's built for easy collaboration. You can always connect with other parties. Ultimate security. So we go a step further than a lot of other systems out there. Instead of just saying, for instance, like an inspection or an RFI, this company, these people, this subcontractor has access to all RFIs. You can individually select which single RFIs that you want to share over to those different parties. And then more than just at the document level, when you're customizing or configuring your system, you can assign field level access down at that level, so you really have ultimate control of the data that you're putting into the system and sending out to make sure that others are only receiving information that you don't want to keep private. You have full functionality on those mobile devices. I talked about reporting, customizing, easy to import and upload. We'll do a little bit of that. Full document management or files, kind of like a box or a Dropbox. And then you have workflows, which are just step-by-step processes that you might set up. Again, this webinar is mostly about new features. It is not necessarily a full demo of the system. So if you want that, just contact me or one of the other salespeople after the call using sales@ProjectTeam.com, and happy to set you up there. Okay, So let's get into a demo about what's going on here. So I'm going to log into ProjectTeam. Okay, so I'm logged in here. This first area is the My page. I'm going to quickly go over some of the basics and get right into the features. So I'm going to go right into a project, go into my demo. Actually, let's go to the webinar project here. And at this home page, it's familiar with most of you. You can see I have access to these different document types. What I'm going to do here first is I'm going to create a brand new form, because what I want to kind of overview is the added functionality that we've included in the reference links panel. So there are many of our clients use the referencing a lot, and some have said that that's one of their favorite features within ProjectTeam. You can have, let's say, like an RFI and an issue or a field issue or an inspection or something like that, or a PCO or change order. You can create new information now from other forms in the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new form called an issue. I'm going to add a couple fields on there. Then we're going to go over to an RFI, and we're going to create a brand new issue from the RFI. If you can think about it, you could also do this, like I said, with other forms such as PCOs, and I know that has been asked a bunch from different clients. One thing I'll mention before I get into it, what we do is in the development world here, we do sprints. We kind of release probably about once a month or at least once every few weeks. And a lot of the stuff that we are releasing is based either on the vision of ProjectTeam or user feedback. So we are always working with all of our different users, gathering that feedback and putting improvements into the system based on what users are actually looking for. And this sprint in particular was a lot about the user feedback type of features, which you'll see. And a lot of you on the call are existing users, like I said, so some of this stuff is what you've been asking for. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm just going to very quickly create a new form. So I'm going to say customize my forms. I'm going to say add, and I'm going to add a new project form. On my last webinar, which we did a couple weeks ago, we talked about managing information at the company level, but this one we're going to just do a project form. So I'm going to say project form here. It's going to ask me what type or what name I want to call this thing. I'm just going to say issue and then say save. I'm just going to go through and very quickly add a couple fields. I'm not going to create an entire form, but here I'll just say, I'm going to say add. I'm going to go down to the project directory business and just call this thing responsible party. And then give that access to everybody on my project or everybody at my company for the project. I'm going to say I need to resolve this by, so I'm just going to say a date. Customizing in ProjectTeam is very simple to do. Mostly like an admin level would set something up, and then the users from your company or on your project would just use what the admin might have set up. So I'm going to add a status here. I'm going through this pretty quickly, but you can kind of see how easy it is to customize. Close and maybe void, something like that. Okay, so I've got and maybe I'll add a description because that maybe makes sense. So I'm going to do one last one, just say multi-line text and say description. I could always add help text for my different fields as I'm going along, but for this, it's pretty basic. So now I've created a brand new issue form. Again, this is something that you might do once and then your users can just use it on your projects. If I go back to the form log here, I see I don't have any issues, which makes sense. I just created that thing. I'll create a first issue. I'm just going to call this thing issue 1. Responsible party might just be my company. Resolve it by, since we added a date field, it's going to be a calendar picker. This is a pick list that we've set up, and then I can add a description if I need to, and then simply save this. Okay, so I've just created a custom form and added my issues. The main point here is, though, now that I have this form, I can reference other forms around it. So I'm going to go over to a request for information. Okay, so I'm at my RFI log here. I see that I have one RFI on my project right now because this is kind of just a sample project. I'll go ahead and view this RFI. I see a bunch of information showing up, question, answer, RFI number, things that are kind of typical to that. But the main point that I want to mention is this reference link panel. In here now, you could always reference other forms in the system. The added functionality is going to be adding new from here. So let's say that this RFI is related to a bunch of submittals, let's say. I can go in here and say new, I'll add existing. It's going to bring me up a list of other form types that I have access to on my project. I'll just go through here and say that's related to these 3 things. Maybe it's also related to a specification if I thought that, and I can say add. You'll see in this reference link panel, I can search, but it's also broken up by form type. So it's a little easier. I know we have some clients that have a whole ton of reference links in here, and now we're kind of breaking it up to make it easier to find that information to click around. Each one of these reference links is a double link. For instance, if I were to click on cast in place concrete, which is a specification, I could get taken directly to that specification. I see information about it. Maybe I have the attachments in there, but I can also see the reference link that is created on the specification back to my RFI. Again, it's a 2-way link allowing me to create that information. So I could always kind of add the existing. The added functionality is a grouping of that information, but the new stuff also is adding new. So I can say I want to create a new document from this RFI. If I say create new, I'll just click the button. It's first going to ask me which form type do you want to create new from. I could say, like I mentioned, a PCO, a change order, a submittal, something like that. The one that I'm going to look for here is that issue form. And the point of me doing that is, even though we just created a brand new form template, a form type in there called an issue, it is immediately available for me to start referencing that information around other areas of the system. Okay, so I'll just say issue. You'll see it says next here. It's going to show me all of those fields that we just set up: subject, responsible party, resolved by, etc. So I can say this is an issue 2. Responsible party again will be project team, resolved by, let's say, Friday. The status is currently open, and I can add a description in there. I can save and share that to other users if I wanted to, or simply save. It's going to keep me on my RFI, but I see that it did create that reference link to issue, creating a brand new form. And if I go over to that issue, I see the information there. I can add my attachments. I can go back to my issue log, and I see I have 2 issues here. I created one just from scratch, and then I created another one from that RFI. Okay. So creating new from the reference links panel is kind of a nice little feature there that has been added, and I know a lot of clients have been asking for that, especially for something like a PCO. The next is kind of a simple improvement, but it really does make a difference here, especially for those that are used to working in multiple tabs or having information open up in multiple windows. As you know, in ProjectTeam, you can always work on many different forms or projects at the same time. It's not like you have to log out and log in or close down what you're doing and do something else. You can always work on many items kind of together. We've added some titles to the browser, which seems like a small thing, but I think it will really help. So you can see here on that issue number 2, if I were to scroll down, I can right click on this RFI, and now I've opened that up, and it's going to show me information about where I'm going. So I've got this RFI. So now I can click back and forth between those different things that is available for me, and I see always where I am in that kind of the title of my browser there. Okay, the next thing that I want to go over, and I think this is kind of a really cool feature, and I'm going to do another webinar probably on advanced merge templates in a little bit, but is the merge template ability. As you know, in ProjectTeam, you can always create outputs that are kind of branded to your own company. So I'm going to go back to the RFI because that's kind of my basic here. I'm in my RFI. I'm going to actually click on this RFI view. And I see in here that I have my different fields showing up. What I can do is create my new merge template. So maybe my company uses something that looks like this. Okay, I've got it in Microsoft Word here. It's saying that I need to put a logo in there. I need to put my RFI number at the top, project name, things like that need to be included in this very simple template. If I kind of pull this to the left and open up ProjectTeam on my right-hand side, I can see I do have that information in ProjectTeam in the way of fields. If I didn't, I could vary just like we showed a second ago, just customize this however I needed to. But I want to now include some of that on my merge. So I'm going to go into my forms in ProjectTeam. Again, I've got ProjectTeam on the right, the system on the left. I'm going to type in merge here to find merge templates. Here I can see this is a list of templates that I already have set up in the project. I don't have one for my RFI, so I'm going to go ahead and create one. I'm going to say new template. Here's my webinar RFI template. It's going to say which form or source form do you want to use. I'm going to scroll down to RFIs, and that's important because that's where it's going to pull the fields that I can now put into my template. So what I'm doing here again is creating an output that I can use for my RFIs. Again, maybe the admin or someone with a little more project team knowledge or whatever would be creating this once, and then your users can just use it on the project. So I'm going to say this webinar template used for RFIs, go to next here. It's going to show me a bunch of different tags that I can use. It's very easy for me to just copy and paste into the Word document on the left. So for example, I've got a subject in here. I'll just say copy and paste. Okay. A drawing number in here. I've got that field. So I'm just going to say copy and put it wherever I want. Paste. The schedule impact is down here. I'm going to copy and just paste that in. It looks like things got a little bit off, but I think once information is filled in, that'll get better. Spec section, I'm going to copy and paste, and then cost impact, copy and paste that in there. You can set up your merge templates however you want. I'm using one that's kind of pre-built here, but of course you can use Microsoft Word, Excel, PDF, or even PowerPoint if you're doing something like Toolbox Talks or something like that. I'm going to go up to RFI number, take this, and maybe put it, I said up here at the top. Maybe edit that. I said I wanted to have that on the left. I've got project name and project number. In the past, you kind of hard-coded this, but now that we've kind of expanded on the customizations at the project level to be able to do that at the company level, you might want to use the same template across your different projects. So instead of redoing that template, at the top of my merge here, you can see that we have the ability to choose from a dropdown not only the document fields, but you can also pull user fields or project fields. So I'm going to go into the project fields. I'm going to take the project name, put that right in here, just paste that in, and then project number, and again, I'm just going to paste that in. Okay. The last thing that I have, it looks pretty good. I'm going to go back to my document fields. I'm going to take the question. It looks like I need to put something underneath of here to add that question. And then the last thing is I could hard code, take an image from my computer that has my logo in it and put it on my template before I upload. And that is totally fine. The only issue there, and the reason we're including this tag for company logo is, if your company changes a logo at some point and you have 3,000 different merge templates across your projects, it would be a real bummer to have to go through and change your logo on those 3,000 different instances. Okay, so instead we can just use the tag for company logo. I'm going to go into project fields, go to user fields. I could pull my name, information like that, but I also have this company logo. I'm just going to copy that tag and go into the header here and let's see if I can put that in there. Paste that in there. Okay, so now my logo is going to take over where that tag was. There is a ton of information about merge templates that, like I mentioned, I'm going to go over in another webinar. If you want, though, right now, if you go to our help pages, help.projectteam.com, you can kind of search through here, but you could also find something called Smarty Tags. And in here, it's going to give you different tags to do things like math, assigning variables, if statements. All of that can be done using these different tags. We give you kind of the basic, that little $ project team underscore the field ID, but you can take that a lot further. And again, I'm going to do a webinar on that, which might be really cool. Okay, so I've got this document in here created using my simple tags. And I'm simply going to save this to my computer. So I'm going to say webinar merge template has been saved now. I'm going to go next and upload this template to my the system. So now I've got that in there, and now I'll expand. So I've done all of the merge creation very, very quickly. Matches the outputs that I'm looking for, and now I'll just say finish. Now my merge template has been created. If I wanted other people to be able to merge information to it, I would simply share this merge template to others, but for this example, I don't really care about that, so I'm going to keep it private. And now I'm going to go back to my RFI and view that single RFI that we looked at before. In here now, if I wanted to merge, I could certainly do that. But before I do that, another improvement that we've added and has been asked about is the attachments. Can I use attachments or include attachments in my merge? And the answer is now yes. So if I kind of minimize some of my screen, I have these two photos. I can put that into my RFI. That'll upload real nice in there. I could open this up. I can view this information if I wanted to. I could always rename that information as I'm going. But the option that I have now in merge is that I can go up to the top of my screen. I can always say print merge to my template. It's going to give me a list of the different merge templates that I have access to on the project. And we just have that one that we just created. I'm going to say next. Here it's going to say, do you want to include any of your different attachments in there? It doesn't have to be just photos. You could also attach things like Word documents, Excel, PDF, PowerPoint, text files. There's a bunch of different file types that you can add in your merge. I'm actually going to choose a couple here. You'll notice if I choose a couple, it is updating this file size limit on the bottom right. You do have a limit. There's 100 meg in there, which is pretty large and sufficient for most cases. So that's going to make sense for me now. So I choose both of those. I could have also said select all if I need to, and just say next. The next option that I have here is to be able to reorder these attachments before I actually print them. So I've created this template. I want to include these attachments. I want to reorder that information. Maybe I have 15 different attachments. I could reorder them to make sense for what my output is, and then I'll just say merge. What it's going to do now is it's taking that original Word document that we created just a second ago. It takes all of the tags. It associates that with the form fields from my RFI, and you can see now it's created the output that I was looking for. I see at the top of my page that merge tag that we gave you got overwritten by my logo. You can define the size of your logo further if you need to. You put the RFI number in there, the project information, a bunch of stuff about what's going on with the cost impact, schedule impact. We could format this to make it prettier if we need to. I can see I've got this requested information, and then at the bottom of that, I see my different my photos included in there as well. From here, I could either save and download this information, or I can simply save this and email this out to whatever users that I want. So if I have some legal language, or if I'm merging information, I want to send an official letter, I want to include some PDF that has some appendix or something like that in there as well, I can always send that out through email. I'll say save an email. I'll just type in my information and say, Josh, check this out, and then send that email. What it's going to do is, it doesn't matter if that person is a user or not, they will receive an email with an attachment on it that is going to be a PDF with that information. So it'll show the form fields and then the two different attachments. Okay, so that is about the 30-minute mark, kind of going over some of those new features. I want to open it up a little bit to questions. Let's see if I got that. Oh yeah, so here's that attachment that I talked about. Since I send that to myself, I can open this thing up in PDF, and I can see here it is my attachment with those different photos included in that attachment. Okay, so you're able to take anything you want and merge that information now. All right, so I'm going to open it up a little bit to the different questions in here. Yeah, so can photos be merged? Can't see the full. Merged in ProjectTeam and tagged. I'm not exactly sure. I know that you can rename information in ProjectTeam. You can pull that up in a viewer and rename whatever you want. A common question, especially in something like field reports, is taking photos with your smaller devices, whether that's your phone or your tablet, that would be able to upload into the system, and then that can be included in your merge as well. And of course, you can always rename that information. Yeah, so I think that was the second question there. With attachments, you can include that in something like monthly progress reports. If you were taking photos on your job site, you could certainly include that in there. I did answer another question was about logging in with more than one project. Yes, you can open up multiple projects at a time if you wanted to. Importing data, yes, you can import data. All of that can be referenced doing that, or to those different reference links as needed. And yet, all of the customizations that you make, this is from a new user, I think, but the customizations that you make can be pulled into reports. I might have mentioned that in the beginning. No matter what you do in the system, you can always create the different outputs and reports based on that information. Can you batch merge? Batch merging right now, you cannot do, but I would say that you certainly can do that in reports. So if you create the same thing that we did in the merge area, you can do in the reports area. Okay, you're going to be writing more of a report, which is not very hard in the system, but you could create that in a report, and then like if in a very simple example, just to show that really quickly, is if I go to the reports area. Let's say I created a one-page RFI report. I can go into, and we have a system report that's going to be very, very simple, but I can say this detailed view of RFIs. I guess it's not going to show much because I only have one RFI, but you'll be able to see that there is a one RFI per document here that I'm showing once that loads up. So yes, you can get a lot of information out through reports. So you can see it's not a table-based report, but it's more of like a page-by-page report. I only have one RFI on this project, but you see I could have done the same thing in the reporting area that I'm doing in my merge if I needed to. Okay. Reports right now do not have attachments, but one of the person that's asking this question asked about links as well, and this might be good. And I don't know if I went back over with this person before, but let's say on my RFI, I'm going to go to another project. I'm going to go to my demo sample project because this has more examples. If I go to my RFIs here, you'll see I have a bunch of RFIs. One of the reports that you can create is, you can create any report, but you can also create links in the report that go back to the document, the actual document, using the document link to get into the system. So if I go to reports here, I'm going to very quickly create a report. I know I'm kind of going above and beyond what this webinar is about, but I think it's helpful for users. I'm going to create a very quick report, so I'll click through this pretty fast, but you'll kind of get an idea of how easy it is. This is going to be called my webinar RFI report on 4/17, let's say. 4/17. I'll put it in my access. I don't really care if anybody else has access. Categories, I'm going to say request for informations. I'm going to say sort by official RFI number. And then the layout is going to just have, let's say, the RFI number, the subject, the question, the answer, category, complete, whatever else I want to pull into my report here, and I'll finish that. So I just very quickly created a kind of a table-based report outside of merge, and the thing that I'm getting at here is going to be a link back to the form. I typically like, just as a common practice, to make this fit the size of my screen because it's a lot of information. So I'm going to say landscape mode and fit to page width. And just to make it a little bit easier to read, I'm going to make this maybe a black color as the header and make that white. If I run this report right now, it's going to show me all of my RFIs. It might not look really pretty because it's going to jam up some of my question and answer. We see all of my different RFIs in a kind of a tabular report view. What I want, though, is because I can export this out to something like PDF or even schedule this to my email every Monday at 9 a.m. or something like that. I want to be able to drill down or click into something like this and get taken right to the document. A new function that is added in here, so I can click on wherever I want this function to be. So the subject, I can say I want to add a new formula. The new formula is going to be the document link. Okay, and I can just it's going to tell you here, get the document link, insert a hyperlink to the document, and display text. So I'm going to take the document ID, which is this right here, and put it right in there. and then I'm going to say comma and put in the subject line. Okay. Now I can add this, and maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger so it's prettier for us. Now I've just added a link to the system, and I know in the past you couldn't do that, but you can see these are all links, and if I click on elevator rails, it should take me directly to the elevator rails RFI. I didn't need to do anything special with formulas. I just added that document link function there, and that's going to automatically create that link for me. Okay. Okay, so that pretty much is everything that I wanted to go over today. If there are any more questions, please ask them now. I have some time to kind of stay on and go over some more. If there's anything more specific to something that you're trying to do, or if you have specific questions in the sales process or just as a user, feel free to reach out to me after this call, and I'm happy to kind of follow up and make sure you get what you have, okay? Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I don't see any more questions here. Again, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I will talk to you soon. Again, these webinars are typically held about a month apart or a few weeks apart. We had our last one maybe 30 days ago. We'll have another one coming up pretty shortly, probably in a couple weeks, because I want to go over some of that advanced merge using something called those Smarty Tags, which I think are really cool. And you can really take your merging and your reporting to the next level. But until then, thank you. Have fun in ProjectTeam. If you have any questions, reach out. Thank you.